I'm Christy.
And I'm Kathy.
And this is The Psychic
And the Skeptic. Welcome back to The Psychic and the Skeptic. And on this episode, we are going to talk about astral projection. Now, not to be confused with out-of-body experiences, but we'll get into that in a minute here.
Or NDE's near-death experience.
Near-death, yeah. So we've got a few topics that we've covered already, but we want to go into more detail about another phenomenon. But first, this is our 23rd episode.
Woohoo!
Right. So we are out of spooky season, unfortunately, but we are knee-deep into fall, and next week is the Thanksgiving holiday. Yes. We have been working on a project, an update on one of our case files, Kendall's Restaurant, which you've heard about on this podcast. And we had an interview episode with Kim from Kendall's. And since then, we've gone back and we've had a dual team investigation with our friends from API. And we also had a public investigation where we've invited some people to come along with us and see what we do and get their own time at Kendall's to investigate. And we wanted to put together a bonus episode for you all. So we plan to release that to you the week of Thanksgiving. So you are going to get 2 episodes for Thanksgiving.
Ooh, maybe that'll help if you're out driving, going to a loved one's house or a friend's house.
You got to wait in line.
Yeah, give you something to listen to.
Right. And it's our appreciation for you as a thank you for listening to our podcast. We know that there are some locals out there that listen to us routinely. And we had a guest at our investigation that told me that night that she has been listening to our podcast. So shout out to you. You know who you are, and we appreciate you. Hopefully you've been enjoying our episodes.
Yep. All right. So what do you have planned to do for Thanksgiving, Kathy?
I am going to be thankful for my butt right at home with my family together. I have no plans to go anywhere. My son's coming home for Thanksgiving break. It's his first year at college and he's away. So we just want to be a family of 4, just like it always was. So we're looking forward to just being normal again.
Are you doing all the cooking or is your husband helping?
I usually do. Everybody has to get out of my way.
Man.
I'm in charge in the kitchen.
Wow.
I like to do that for my family. It's like a gift to give them the meal packaged up.
That's where you and I are different.
No,
actually.
You make everybody help you.
Well, yeah. You want to eat, you best get in here and help me put it together.
I enjoy doing it for them. And this is like the one time a year that I really do as much as I can from scratch and try to get it all. It's a gift to them. I like to let them like sit and relax, and I make my own homemade pie from scratch, including the crust.
What kind?
Apple pie.
Oh.
Good old American apple pie.
We usually will do chocolate with the whipped cream on it, and then we'll
a chocolate cream pie.
It's Cool Whip. And then we'll have a pecan pie. We always did those because that was my dad's favorite. And we do that in remembrance of him every year now.
Oh, yeah.
And banana pudding, because that was also one of his favorites.
So you are a Southern girl with what we call the pecan pie.
That's your yank coming out again. Not pecan. And don't forget the sweet tea.
Oh, well, yeah, I get half and half.
Yeah, we always have family come over on the holidays, just like my mom and stepdad and my 2 sisters and their kids and husbands and my children as well. And we just everybody, it's kind of like a potluck.
Oh, sure.
Whoever's hosting, which I got roped into doing it this year. So I'll supply the turkey, and then I'll usually do 1 or 2 other things. And then everybody just brings some stuff to go along.
Oh,
and then
we're a military family, so we've always just been the 4 of us.
Yeah.
But yeah, being military, you do the Friendsgiving thing for a while, and then you have your own family.
Yeah.
And so it's just been us. Occasionally we'd travel to go to my in-laws, or my mom would come to us, but for the most part, it's just the 4 of us, and we just make it extra special by having a much bigger dinner, and then we get to eat all the leftovers for ourselves.
Yeah, well, and you don't have to cook as much, though, either, for just 4 different people.
I still make a bunch, though, because we have leftovers all week long. We just keep digging back into it.
We usually have about 20 or 25 people at our events, because my husband's side, too, his siblings and his parents come, and so, it usually takes a pretty good-sized turkey and
Oh, wow.
Pretty
yeah.
much we'll cook up like 10 pounds of potatoes and that almost make mashed potatoes. And that's almost not even enough. Like they all get wiped out.
So you hardly have leftovers at all at the end then, huh?
And then we try to just divide with everybody. Like everybody knows when you come to a family dinner
You got to bring some.
on my side, bring you some Tupperware too, because you're taking some home.
For the longest time, the military families did the same thing. We'd all get together later and we'd all have dessert together, and everybody brought their desserts. So it was like a Friendsgiving, as we called it. But we'll get a big turkey just so we can have the leftovers, the sandwiches and all the things, or turkey tetrazzini and those kind of recipes later in the week.
So this year, that's what our plans are, is just spending time with family. So, but other than that, stuff my face for a bit and then do nothing.
I'm getting hungry just thinking about it. I'm ready now.
So what are you making for dinner tonight since we're at your house?
I don't know now. It's only 2:30.
Well, we do have an interesting episode. We'll stop our yakking like two hens and we'll get on with
Or
the
two
topic.
turkeys.
But it's on astral projection. This should be a very interesting episode.
Okay, so what is astral projection?
It's like an OBE, except it's where your consciousness or your soul actually leaves this physical plane and travels to another plane.
So what's an OBE?
OBE is where you have a separation of your consciousness from your physical body. For an example, if you were having surgery and you died on the surgery table, you could see yourself floating above your body. You'd see your physical body
Literally
down there.
out of your body, witnessing yourself.
Yeah, and oftentimes it may not travel to a different realm.
So astral projection is like a type of out-of-body experience then.
Yeah. You just go to different places other than the earthly realm.
So what I know of astral projection is this is usually done while somebody is sleeping, right?
Yes.
So how does that differ from a lucid dream then?
Well, lucid dreaming is when you go to sleep, you're aware that you're dreaming. And oftentimes in your dreams, you have control of different things. Like you could tell yourself, okay, I'm going to walk down the street and I'm going to do it at a march. Well,
So you can control what's going on in your dream or what you're doing in your dream.
Yeah. Right. Or you could say, you know what? I don't like where this is going. I'm going to stop and I'm going to do something else. And then you switch. Have you ever had those dreams where you do that?
I probably have had a dream but I would say very rarely, because I usually end up waking up wishing I had more control in my dream.
Yeah, that's basically just control in lucid dreaming. And that should be a whole nother
awareness
topic.
of the fact that you're dreaming. Maybe I've had that thought like, oh, I must be dreaming. But there's probably been one or two moments at least.
Yeah, and 20 to 30% of the population has been able to lucid dream.
So they polled people and about a third of the population has experienced something like that?
Give or take, yes. And
Wow.
that could be a whole different episode.
Yeah. So from a skeptic viewpoint, I think it's easier for someone to believe a lucid dream than something real, especially if 20 to 30% of the population has experienced that.
Right.
You've got lots of recollection of it or lots of experiences from people that point towards lucid dreaming. And I'm sure with an EEG or an electroencephalograph, we could probably look at what stage of sleep someone's in. And if they wake up, they can recall what events occurred. So I can see lucid dreaming as being something factual, something that actually exists.
And there has been studies done on it, believe it or not.
Yeah, I don't think there's doubt. At least I don't think there's a skeptical argument against that.
No.
But astral projection, that's when you get the skeptical minds spinning.
Of course, yeah.
Because now you're talking about hypothetical planes and other locations that you travel to with just your mind or your consciousness.
Right. Is there scientific proof for that? Not really. So this is where,
I would say there's proof against it, but let's keep going.
Right. So unless you've really experienced it for yourself, you probably don't believe in an OBE or astral projection. And spoil alert, I have. Of course you have, Christy, right? Is that what's going through your head? But no,
My brain has been through a lot, you poor thing.
I know, trauma. It's trauma. No, just kidding. But no, I'll share that a bit later on.
And I will definitely share the medical viewpoint on all of that.
Yeah, of course. So I knew that was coming too. But there has been a lot of different things documented throughout history.
Right. So the history on astral projection specifically goes way back. So where are we going to visit? Is it
Para-history time? You betcha. All right. So goes back as far as 800 to 400 BCE. There's been accounts in India. Then, of course, Egypt. Egypt has a lot of things that occur.
They definitely believed in projection to other planes.
Oh, yeah. They believe it was like a meditative state. And after death, there are records of a consciousness or a soul.
Well, I know the Egyptians deeply believed in an afterlife.
Yeah.
And you can tell that there was belief in a connection from this world to the other world, with the belief that you needed to have all your possessions with you when you passed so that you had them in the afterlife.
Right.
But with astral projection, then would this mean that they believed in other planes besides the afterlife?
I think they probably believed that the afterlife was just one itself. But
I wonder if this was in the writings and the hieroglyphs and stuff on their history.
Oh, yeah. I know that there has been ideas of this. It comes from what's known as the Book of the Dead. And they believed that there was a separateness from the soul and the consciousness in the body.
Wow.
So, and this again is why they would bury so many different things with their loved ones or with their leaders or whatever, is because they did believe that once they left this physical plane, they would go to the next.
So it's like a different dimension or a time plane, a different existence, not like it's on another planet or out in space. Because I know on the chat boards out there, lots of people seem to think astral projection has to do with the stars and space, spaceships and aliens, which is not really what this is. This is just a literal other world at another time.
Right. But there has been early civilizations that have studied the stars and come up with theories and an idea of, hey, maybe there's something else beyond that.
Right.
But you can find it in other cultures. There's been written stories talking about how a spirit wanders in its sleep, and they're thinking that there's a separation there. Even in medieval Europe, there's reports in their literature reporting different visions or soul journeys or separation of soul and body. 7th through 12th century, there's also more. They talk about different realms and different places for the soul to go. And we know as you start to move up into more modern times, like late 19th, early of 20th centuries, we've got more of the occult, remember spiritualism that comes in. Books are starting to be written. You've got the printing presses and stuff.
Right. But this is different from the beyond and the afterlife. This is equal to current time, but in a different time dimension again. So it's just, you have your afterlife that's separate from what we're talking about here too, just for clarity.
Yeah. And you got a lot of different theories that come about, just like pretty much anything that's paranormal. Do we know that it's real? Can it be scientifically proved and backed up? No, not always, right? It's a theory. And again, we know with theory, you make that hypothesis, that educated guess, and then you test to see if you can prove it.
Right. And from the scientific viewpoint, in this case, it's easier to disprove than it is to prove.
Absolutely. Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So I'll definitely get into some of the medical explanation and neurologics that can go along with this. But before we go there, there's still some paranormal theories to talk about.
Right.
So we're talking about different planes. There's information in history that discusses different planes too. So again, differentiating the afterlife versus a different time continuum, a different place. Some might say a different plane could be outside of this universe, a parallel world. All of those things can fall under this definition or theory of an astral plane.
Yeah.
What did the history tell us? Because that I find super interesting.
Well, in Hinduism, they believe that there are 14 different realms, and they're called lokas, if I say that right, or lokas. I don't know.
It sounds a little like loco in Spanish.
It doesn't. Well, it's Lokas.
Okay, lokas.
And it could be
it's
Lucas.
Almost like local, a place.
Right. But they believe that these 14 realms now are divided into 7 different realms.
Oh, wow.
And they believe that they're above the ground. So, for example, like a heaven, right? And then, so heaven, they would be considered above, and then the
So
other place,
spatial awareness kind of thing. Yeah.
might be below. So in Buddhism now, they believe in 6 different types of realms. They believe in a rebirth realm where the gods are, the demigods.
So this kind of goes into reincarnation, like where souls live before they come back.
Correct.
Ooh,
Correct.
okay.
Okay. But theirs is like gods, demigods, humans, animals, hungry ghosts, and hells. So,
Interesting.
yeah, very interesting. And again, it's by culture and perspective.
And their way of explaining the unknown, right?
Yes. And we know going way back when that you had a lot of different cultures. They would make up stories about how, I don't know, like how the sun was created because they didn't know. So they just had to come up with something that felt right to them. And then those were just passed down through the generations. So now other traditions. So for example, with Islamic, they talk about 5 different realms. Christianity refers to 4 different realms of human existence. Jewish mysticism believes in 5 different worlds or realms. So there is a lot of different viewpoints.
Okay, so is a realm like heaven? Is heaven the same thing?
No, not really. So the difference between the realms and the heaven is this. A realm is more of like a general term for a spiritual world or a plane of certain existence. And I'm sure you've heard the metaphysical talking about the different realms.
Right.
But a level of heaven is where a realm is in the heaven. So picture a layer, and then within that layer, there are different levels or realms. Does that make sense?
So then there's different levels of heaven?
Yes, there's actually 3 different types of heaven levels. So the first one is known as the atmosphere, like where you see all the beautiful clouds and the birds. The second one is known to be outer space, where the sun and the moon and the stars are, right? Our galaxy and all that. It's also thought and said that it's where angels and fallen angels, which are the demons, that's where they engage in spiritual warfare.
Okay.
And then the third one is supposed to be the dwelling place of God, if you believe in God.
I never really thought of it as separate places or separate levels. I thought just heaven was just heaven.
Right.
But yeah, that makes sense.
Well, what kind of helped me with that was from a spiritual point of view is when you see earthbound spirits, right?
Yeah, you talk about that a lot.
Yes, earthbound spirits are basically within this physical realm or this plane. So it's going to be something closer to the earth. So would that be in the first heaven? Well, yeah, right?
Okay. Heaven on earth.
Well, maybe that's where they got the term from. Who knows?
Maybe. Yeah, that's interesting.
So, yeah.
So those are the astral planes.
Correct.
So
The realms.
the next term under paranormal theories, or I guess it's not really paranormal in a sense, it's more like a belief or a thought in this astral projection out of body
Experience,
concept. Yeah. We're talking about astral bodies now. Now you can talk about that from an astrological point of view. That means just things out in space. But when it comes to the metaphysical or spiritual, there's a definition of an astral body.
Right. Depending on how you want to look at it, can be one's soul, can be one's consciousness, and it's what is able to move beyond the physical body, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Like another term for your spirit or your consciousness.
Right. And these astral bodies can go into the different realms or the different levels of heaven, supposedly, depending upon where the soul or consciousness wants to visit.
So is this what they mean when they talk about stages in astral projection? Those different levels or realms or heavens?
Or techniques, basically. To me, I would feel like it could be a variety of different things. You can meditate, right? And have your mind go to a different realm, or lucid dreaming, right? Being in a trance, just some sort of ritual energy type work. So it's where you can transport that soul or consciousness to a different level in a sense.
Okay.
Then there's the chord theory. Have you heard of that?
No. Oh,
I've known about this for a long time. And of course, are we going to have proof of any of this? Probably not.
it's theory.
Right. There's something known as the silver cord. Now, the theory in general is a person's physical body can remain here on Earth, but when they astral project their consciousness, it leaves the physical body, and the cord is, if you can picture it as a flexible ribbon in a sense.
Like a tether.
Yeah, it's a tether. That's a good way to say it. It allows the soul to travel wherever it would like to go within these realms, to visit places. I have a story I will share in a little bit, but there have been theories out there. People will ask, okay, is there a certain amount of time that the spirit or the consciousness can leave the body and it has to go back
So
within
they're
a certain
limited
time?
on how long they can.
Yes. Some people believe there is, but other people don't believe that there's a time. And I will tell you, I've often questioned that for a long time. But when I had my astral projection experience, I will just say I had a watch on, and I remember paying attention to that watch and thinking, oh, I got to hurry and get back. I have a certain amount of time. Now, why I was thinking that, I don't know, unless there is a specific time that your soul has to be back into its body. Okay.
So it's like you had a natural instinct about this rule that you had to get back.
Yeah, exactly. That describes it perfectly. I knew that if I didn't get back within a certain amount of time, that I was going to be stuck there. Now, don't ask me how I knew that.
Just instinctual.
It exactly was. And if you think about it, time is a man-made concept. So they say time on the other side is different than the time that is here. And when you're in the spiritual realm, and I've even had spirits tell me that time is different. So 1 year here could be like 1 day to them. But yeah, time is important when it comes to that. So I don't really know if I believe that theory that you can be gone with no limits. That experience told me differently.
So this tether is there to make sure you have a way back?
Yeah, you find your way back to your body. Exactly. That's a good way to put it. It's so the astral traveler can find their way back and not be permanently separated from their physical body. Now,
like a scuba diver has that line that they
Yeah,
like leaving
exactly.
breadcrumbs or something to find your way back.
right.
So, yeah, it sounds like a spiritual leash.
Yeah. Well, and the theory out there is, if you ask the question, what happens if the soul physically dies as a person is astral projecting? The tether's broken. What is the only thing that is supposed to break this silver cord? Well, that's physical death. And so if a person is astral projecting and their physical body dies, what happens to them? Well, the theory is they're trapped on whatever astral plane that they're on, and their soul or consciousness can't get back to this realm.
I wonder how they come up with these theories, though. Where does this come from? How do people know or come up with this?
I don't know, but I'm thinking experiences that some people have, because if you think back to my experience about the time, this was important. I knew I was limited on time. I knew that I had to hurry and get back within a certain amount of time. Now, I didn't know in this astral projection experience, I didn't have a number like, oh, you got to be back in 2 hours or 3 hours or whatever. I just had this sense of urgency. Exactly. So there's also what's known as fragmented quartz. This supposedly is caused by things like trauma. So you could have trauma like abuse and neglect, really intensely painful experiences like those that can leave a residual imprint. And this can cause people to have unhealthy silver cords. Sometimes it's nicknamed trauma bonds or trauma cords. And this can cause a soul fragmentation where part of the soul can disconnect as a protective mechanism. So you might have part of the soul that is astral traveling. The other part of the soul is still present in the physical body because it is too damaged to be able to travel to different realms.
Oh, so like splitting in two?
In a sense.
That's
yeah,
weird.
But
Yeah.
it's that consciousness and soul. Now, I've never experienced that.
Where's this thought even come from? How do people come to realize these things?
Good question.
Just coming back and remembering because you're lucid during this time.
Right.
So has anybody ever seen this cord or is it just hypothesized?
That's a great question. Well, to be honest, we know a lot of this is not scientific, right? It's never, ever going to be proved scientifically. So it's theorized because a lot of people who have had astral projections have described seeing this type of luminous silvery type cord that connects their soul, their conscious, this astral body to their physical body. People that have also had NDEs, they have reported too seeing this thin cord-like tether, basically, that connects them to their physical body.
That's so interesting because I've never heard that concept before.
Yeah, I've heard about this. Well, in my 25, almost 26 years of doing paranormal investigating and learning more about the metaphysical world, I've always heard about this silver cord or this tether.
Well, I've heard of astral projection, of course, but the tether piece is what's a piece that I have not.
Right.
It's still a little bit more out there for a skeptic, though.
Oh, of course.
All of this, there's some neurologic explanation to some of this, very similar to the OBE.
Oh, I'm sure.
So what I mean about not having heard of this cord is I feel like it doesn't come up in a lot of the stories from the lay person. And maybe this is more of a term that's something
for the psychic weirdos.
Metaphysical gifts,
yes,
I could say, because it's not a new term to you.
Mm-mm.
But for me, I haven't heard it before because I'm hearing the stories from people who don't have those gifts that just experience that astral projection.
Right.
So that's the side that I come from.
Yeah. And if you think about paranormal investigating in general,
right,
the silver cord theory doesn't come up because that doesn't always apply. But then again, it does. If you're working with someone who is gifted in any type of way, talk about these different realms. Well, they have to go to these realms to be able to communicate in a sense with an earthbound. So
do you astral project then in a reading, in a meditative state, or is this only something that happens while you're sleeping at night?
I've only had it happen to me when I'm sleeping. When I am doing a reading for someone, I just focus and meditate in a sense, but then I just hear and see things. So I'm not projecting my soul or consciousness to a certain place or time.
So that gets my paranormal theory brain thinking that this is something that people can only really experience when they're in that sleep state because of the disconnect to their physical body when you're in that relaxed dream state.
I believe that to be true. Yes, I do.
So all of these awake experiences that you do as you do readings are meditative and receiving messages and not necessarily projecting and moving because you're connected to your body. You're awake.
Oh,
you don't.
Yes.
You'd slump down to the floor, I would think. If your body and consciousness is somewhere else, your body would go to sleep as you project.
Yes.
Right. So totally different.
Yes, ma'am. Totally different.
So, and not something that seems very common. I know lucid dreaming is probably way more common than astral projection.
Absolutely.
Right. So tell me about your astral projection experience.
Sure. So I'd gone to bed one night and I had been asleep, I don't know for how long, but suddenly in my dream, I was in this graveyard and I was laying in this open grave, and all of a sudden I just saw like shovels of dirt being thrown on top of me. And I began to panic a little bit. Then the next thing I know, I'm completely covered with dirt and I feel my entire body do a complete 360 turn.
Like you rolled over? All the way over?
All the way over, and I'm facing up again.
Okay.
It was a weird movement. It felt so real. It was real. I astral projected. What am I talking about? Anyway, so I went ahead and I shot my hand up through the dirt and I felt that there was air. And so I knew I needed to dig my way out. And that's what I did.
That's like what the zombies do in the
Exactly, except I wasn't a zombie. I looked around my surroundings and I noticed I was in a graveyard, and I don't know where I was at
okay.
in the beginning of the dream, but I was pushed into a
So
grave.
when you came out, you realized you were somewhere else.
Right.
Okay.
So I'm assuming that when
Yeah.
I was pushed into the grave originally, I was in a cemetery. So I'm looking around me, and it looks like right before it starts to get dark at dusk, and you can see from the sun going down like that reddish orange hue
Yeah.
sometime. And then I also noticed that there were these fires burning in various places off in the distance. And then suddenly this loud kind of commotion, the sound, caught my attention, and I turned to my left and I saw this river, and there was this bridge going over the river, and suddenly I see this Ford Bronco coming out of it. Looked like out of clouds or nothingness, but the Ford Bronco appears, and there's a lady driving it, a dark-headed lady.
Just coming out of the sky?
Yeah, I
Ford
know
Bronco?
it sounds nutty, but I swear to you, this
No
is
O.J. Simpson driving, right?
not at all.
Okay.
But it's this dark-headed woman, and she ends up crashing into the river. And I suddenly start to see water filling in her SUV, and she's starting to panic. So the thought that went through my mind is, oh my gosh, she's going to drown, and I need to get over there to go help her. So I start to run over there, and right before I got to her, she and her vehicle disappeared.
Wow. Okay. So my thought is
No, I wasn't
she just
smoking
she
shrooms.
fell asleep behind the wheel and astral projected into your plane where you were, and she woke up and realized, oh crap, and went back.
Now, are you
Her
being a
silver
sarcastic
cord.
butt?
No, dead serious. Her silver cord pulled her right back. Maybe it was too much time.
Here's
It took too long to get to her.
Well, this is the feeling that I got off of her, actually, was that she was in an accident
Yeah.
and she did drown, and did not, like, she went to this realm, but did not stay in this realm. She was like brought back to life
Wow.
or rescued
Yeah,
or
I mean-
something, taken out of the realm.
Theoretically, that makes sense with what people believe these different realms are.
Yeah. That's the feeling that I got too. I knew she was okay.
Oh, so she went back maybe to
She went back to wherever she
present
came from.
earthbound
Yeah.
realm?
And I kind of wonder sometimes if maybe she didn't die for a short period of time and then was resuscitated,
Like
and that's
had
why
an-
she suddenly disappeared.
had an out-of-body experience,
Mm.
but she ended up on a different plane for a second.
Correct.
Ugh,
I've always wondered
inferior.
about that, but I remember her so distinctly. Like I said, I can remember what she looks like. She was
Gosh.
probably in her early to mid 30s.
I remember you telling me this story, but I guess I didn't get all the details and the thoughts like what we're discussing now. But have you ever looked into that time frame? Were there any recent accidents similar to where somebody went off a bridge?
Actually, no, I never did.
Yeah.
I guess it just never crossed my mind to look up something like that. And I'm thinking it was just a metaphysical type experience.
Yeah,
So
and those things are hard to find. But my job on our paranormal team is to look into
research.
those things. I look into the newspapers to validate your experiences. So
Right.
That's where my brain wants to go. Is, oh, I wonder if there was an accident and at this time. But
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
interesting.
Well, to continue, there, as I saw in the distance to like this big white house on the top of the hill. And I just had this feeling that I needed to travel that way.
So this is after
After the lady disappears.
disappeared.
And so I start to look around me, and suddenly some people start appearing. They're like white souls, but in the shape of a person, and they've got features just like a person. The only thing different is they're just white. I knew they were souls. And the farther I started walking, the more I had these people following me. And I just knew that I had to get them to that house on top of the hill. So I would probably say I had at least a good 100 people following behind me by the time it was all said
Wow.
and done. Yes. And as I got to the house, it was surrounded by this fence. And there were these dark entities guarding the fence, the house. And so it's like I had to use my superpowers to, no, I'm just kidding. I had to maneuver through them basically. And This house was 2 or 3 stories, and I remember we had to go to the very top, like on the 3rd floor, ducking around these darker entities that were trying to block our way. And the very top floor, I opened up a closet door because I just knew instinctively that this is where they needed to go. And as soon as I opened up the door, it was just pure, bright white. It was so bright you couldn't even see what was on the other side of the door. And I remember along the way, I kept checking my watch. So after I opened this door, I was telling these people, I'm like, come on, let's go. You got to get to the other side. You got to get to the other side. Right. And I got them all through. And then this man and this woman, they were the very last ones. And they're like, come on, come with us. Come with us to this side. And I said, I can't. I said, it's not for me to go and I've got to go back. And they understood. And I closed the door and I left the house. And I don't remember my run from the house back to the cemetery, but I knew time was of the essence. So I tossed myself back into that grave and I covered myself up with dirt. And all of a sudden I felt my body do a complete 360 again. And then I sat up straight in bed and woke up. I knew I had astral projected. Don't ask me how I knew. I just knew it was very real. And I knew I had done soul work. I knew I had crossed spirits over to the other side who were stuck in that realm.
Yeah.
Call me crazy all you want, but I know it was a real experience and it happened.
So do you remember about the time frame of when this happened in your life? What was going on? Were you doing paranormal investigation or spirit work?
I was already into the paranormal field, I will tell you. So that means I had to be over the age of 25 because I started investigating about 25 years old. So it had to be sometime
early on
after
in
that.
investigating.
Oh, yes.
So I wonder if this was part of your soul work or it's just another way your subconscious could do it. Although this is astral projection, so you're supposed to be in a lucid state. So you knew you were in a dream state.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So
I didn't know where I went.
Right.
And I didn't know how long I was gone.
Right. And if this is a real phenomenon and there are other planes and realms, this makes sense with what you do and what you're experiencing and the fact that you're dealing with souls.
Yes.
So this is earthbound or above that.
I think it's above the earthbound realm.
If you want to look at this from the skeptic point of view, you're transitioning into spirit work. You're starting paranormal investigating. You're aware of all that people say about going into the light and all those things. So was that a memory in your brain that was working during that time in your dream state?
I don't believe so, no.
So I'm just saying that could be the opposite side of things and how it's explained.
Yeah. I know I've done a lot of soul work, though, throughout the years, and I know what that feels like.
Right.
I can't tell you how many souls I have had come to me beside my bed when I am sleeping at night. And that was really hard for me for a long time, was to be able to set those boundaries and say, hey, I'm sleeping, leave me alone. But eventually I got to where I could do that. And sometimes still they'll come through. But I've done a lot of soul work, crossing souls over.
They come to you for help, or you can cross them in this plane.
Vice versa, whatever is needed for me to reach them and to be able to help them.
It's interesting theory. I'm not saying I believe or disbelieve. I'm trying to take the perspective of all sides here.
No, sure.
How do you explain it from a medical point of view as well?
Yeah, medical, I have no idea. Right. Metaphysical?
Yeah, well,
like I explained it. Yeah. And I do believe that time was of the essence because of something with the cord. Yes, that silver cord.
Okay, so let's talk about this from the neurologic viewpoint, because the way science would explain this is all through neurology. And we've talked about some of these concepts before when we were talking about the out-of-body experience episode, or even dream visitation, when we're talking about our brain and our brain activity while we're sleeping.
Yeah.
So if you're having lucid dreaming, I can see this being that first stage of non-REM sleep. So this is that part in the night where you're just falling asleep. That's usually the only time that you're in this stage 1 of sleep, unless at some point you woke up in the middle of the night and then you're going back to sleep. You might go right in that in-between sleep and awake state. It's very brief and you're not in there very long. The next stage is slightly deeper sleep. So it's considered light sleep. You spend a lot of time in this light sleep over the whole night. So you're in and out of that stage 2. The next stage is stage 3. That's a deeper sleep. So you're not dreaming in that state. You're getting that physical rest. So the first half of your night is spent in that physical rest, in that deep sleep. Very minimal brain waves, temperature, everything's kind of slowed down and dropped. Heart rate, respiratory rate. And you'll go back into that light sleep, and you might wake up without realizing you woke up a few times in the night. And then towards the later half, you're gradually getting into REM sleep,
which is the deepest, right?
It's different than deep sleep. It's the dream state. So it's a different experience for your brain. And what we know neurologically is that's when we're sorting our memories from the day. So putting things into our long-term memory, it's our brain's way of putting things in the filing cabinet.
Right.
So all of your thoughts, all of your emotions, all of your memories from your short term are now being stored into your long term during that REM sleep.
Is that why we dream? What do you know
so your
why we
body's
dream?
processing your thoughts. That's why I asked you about what was going on in your life when you had your astral projection, because you may have been morphing your awake and your sleep state with what your brain's preparing to do with the thoughts from the day. So if your current event is, I'm now starting to do all this spiritual work and I'm doing a lot of paranormal research, I'm dealing with souls and spirits who have passed on, whether it's paranormal investigating or doing your spiritual work. So those are current thoughts in your brain. So your body is prepared to sort that during REM sleep. So if you are somebody who doesn't sleep well, which we could look at this from both points of view. You've got spirit that's knocking on your door saying, hey, I need some spiritual help.
Right.
So your body isn't really getting the rest it needs. So it's one or the other. Is it actual spirits coming to visit you? Or is this your brain sorting out your thoughts from your day? You know the answer to that one. But I'm just saying this is how neurology would explain it. So you're going through your thoughts and you're sorting them in this REM sleep stage. But just like with sleep paralysis, you're coming out of your sleep state too quickly. So you're not able to connect to your physical body yet. You're having this sort of out-of-body experience. So it's just another experience in this astral projection state.
So I have a question then. When your body and your mind is in this REM state, does it only bring things forward and incorporate them into your dreams from the events of that day? Or can it be from a week ago, a month ago, 6 months ago, a year ago? And the reason why I'm asking is because what if I wasn't thinking about any of that current day? Spirit work or paranormal or anything?
Well, the brain obviously is complex. So the thought is it's your current thought. So it's your short-term memory, everything from the day. But you're also dipping into your longer-term memory. So some of those memories from a while ago could be coming through as you're sorting through things and storing things into that memory. You could be opening up other memories in that process. Because some of our dreams are really strange. They overlap with our thoughts and our emotions. Some of these thoughts we've had in the day can bring about past memories in our dream state.
Okay. So how does that affect us from feeling things? So what I mean by that is in the dream, I told you I felt my whole entire body do a complete 360. And this was so real. Like I did it.
That can be explained. So that first part about your different stages and coming out of sleep, it's similar to the sleep paralysis. That's a theory that I feel is what's happening when you're in that lucid dreaming state, that you're coming in and out of your sleep stages too quickly, that you're still in a dream state, in an awake state. You're spending a longer period of time in that just falling asleep state, which is normally supposed to be real brief. But according to medical science, the common thought about that feeling in your body where you're sensing this movement has to do with that temporal parietal junction in your brain, that portion in your brain that's responsible for visual, tactile, and vestibular signals. So your proprioception, where you feel in according to your environment around you, your balance.
But you're laying in bed, right? In a dark room.
Right.
You're not
so
moving.
The thought is that there's potentially some anomaly in that area.
You're saying my brain's messed up?
We talked about this a little bit, like a seizure in the temporal lobe.
Yeah.
Or migraines, inflammation, any heightened emotional state, dissociative identity disorder, severe anxiety, substance abuse can cause people to have these kind of experiences.
None of that.
Any kind of psychiatric stress, trauma, emotional, intense states. So experiencing or maybe empathizing with some of these spirits that you encounter from a psychic standpoint could potentially put you into one of those emotionally intense states. So especially if you're the empath type. This is where I think the metaphysical and the science can overlap.
Right.
You could be having this physical experience because you're actually in tune with these spirits. But what you're experiencing as far as that physical projection and that feeling can be part of that temporal lobe activation, changing how your perception is of where you are in space.
Okay, I understand where you're coming from with it. I will tell you that everything you just said does not resonate with me as far as my experience.
Sure.
I understand, but I'm just telling you there's something about when you have this actual experience, it really makes you, I don't know, it's just a feeling. I can't explain it. It's just
which is
a
normal
true to life
because
feeling.
your brain is very complex and everything can feel really real because that's how our brain collects that data and interprets that data. So it could be your brain playing tricks on you. They can see that in scans, whether it's MRI or EEG scans of the brain and the brain activity in these states. These are the things that they can recreate.
Right.
So some of the spiritual stuff, obviously we can't recreate those and the actual experience, but we can measure the activity of the brain in somebody attempting to go into a lucid dream state. That is something that they can see.
Now, if I had never had any sort of spiritual experiences prior to this, then maybe, but the fact that since I've dealt with spirit quite a bit, I just know the difference in the feeling and the motions and just...
Yeah, you've had spiritual work. Then this is where I feel like, well, maybe there can be some overlap with science and metaphysical. I feel like this can probably explain most of those stories you might see on Reddit and other places on the internet where people share their experiences. One of the first stories I heard about astral projection was from another podcast. I want to shout out
which one.
Morbid, yes, one of my favorites. Yes,
Ash
shout
and
out
Elena.
to Ash and Elena. Love them.
They great.
Have stories people will write in. They call them their listener tales. And one of them from a while back, it was episode 446, their 70-second listener tales episode was about dreams and particularly astral projection. And I think it was the last story of that episode where it was so compelling. It was somebody had a dream. She was revisiting this particular location night after night since she was a child, all the way up until early adulthood.
Oh, I think I know the story because I heard that one too.
Yes, this one was
a good one.
Crazy. I'm like, this could be a movie. So if you're into podcasts, go find that episode. I highly recommend it. Chilling. So this listener, and I don't want to spoil it too much if you want to go back and listen, but she basically talks about how she got in trouble in this other realm that she was visiting, and she knew neighbors. She had a whole other life out on this other plane.
It was like a complete town.
And she visited, I think, every night for the longest time.
She had friends there.
Yeah. And then she got in trouble. So I don't want to, no spoilers here. She got in trouble over there and got banned and has not been able to go back since. So it's a really interesting story, mostly because this lasted for years. So that's really unique. I mean, I've had recurring dreams or nightmares. We've all experienced a similar dream on more than one occasion, but never had a recurring dream or nightmare night after night for 10, 20 years.
Right. And I remember her saying that she felt really sad because she couldn't go back. That was like her happy place in a sense.
Yeah. It was just so compelling because the fact that she revisited the same place over and over again. And so either she is some medical anomaly when it comes to dreaming and repetitive dreams, or she truly was visiting some space. But it was so real to her physically as well, which could be maybe there's something neurologically with her temporal parietal lobe, and she felt like she was walking in these places.
But night after night, the same thing
but that's
again.
what's so abnormal,
No.
is it's just the same place over and over again.
Why
So
would you and how would you be able to astral project to the same
she could
place
be
each
just a
time?
very unique case neurologically, and we've just not seen anything like it before. There's always the first time for anything.
Right. I don't
It's-
think I've ever heard of a person astral projecting more
Night
than
after
once or
night.
twice to the same place.
Right, exactly. So very different, very unique, interesting story, very fun. You should go listen. But there's a few other stories, quick things. Reddit is a good place to go find where people are sharing. One of the stories that was in here I thought was interesting. It sounds like this might have been a younger person. There's no names here, so I won't spoil any privacy rights here. But this story starts, there was one astral projection where I was in school having classes, and they were training me to be able to send messages seamlessly to my waking body via sleep writing. The test was to write long lines of code onto paper that I have beside my bed that I usually keep for midnight dream diaries. They show me around the school, which is where they live, and they keep their food source in cages and aquariums. So I asked why they don't let these animals roam, and they replied that if they did, my brain wouldn't be able to have the capacity to handle it. And then it says, they need my help to get out of my head and find a new colony to live in and expand. Before I woke up, I promised I would help them get a new home. It's been 2 years now, and I still can't figure out how to help them. And then there's an edit. It says, when I woke up, I had failed the test of sleep writing, and the paper was blank.
So was she going back to this place each
So
time?
it sounds like in this story
I'm a little
that
confused.
the realm she was in had people there that were trying to escape and find a new place. And there were messages that she had to write down in the physical world on this paper at the side of her bed. Or him. I'm not sure if this is male or female. It's just interesting. There's this desperate need to communicate and get out of this realm to another one. And she felt they were using her to try to find a way out. But she's had this desire to go back, and it's been 2 years. Of course, this was 9 years ago, and there's no further edits on this post. But this person still couldn't figure out how to help them. So I wonder if they were trying to go back in and couldn't. So how people are able to consciously go back and visit, or those who don't want to visit these places and just end up there, is that a thing? Is there a phenomenon there with that? Are you aware of anything?
Sounds so far-fetched.
I was trying to make the connection with the fact that there's communication trying to happen with this world and another world.
Okay,
so
I
that's
see that.
clearly delineating some kind of astral plane in that story.
Okay.
So why do people astral project without wanting to?
Right.
Or why
'Cause-
can't people if they do want to?
Right, because you hear of some people wanting to do lucid dreaming, and so they practice these
Right.
things. So if people are able to will themselves to be able to do things like lucid dreaming, why can't they will themselves to astral project? But those who aren't, say you don't know anything about the metaphysical, but you have this
Experience?
exactly, and you weren't trying, you didn't even think about it, you didn't want to, why? So I did a little bit of research on that, and people can experience things like astral projection spontaneously due to extreme stress, trauma, or specific brain states that cause them some sort of feeling of disassociation or separation from the body. So that explanation goes back to what you say on a medical,
Right.
a neurological level more than metaphysical.
Right.
So apparently there are people out there who have these astral projection experiences, and they have nothing to do with the metaphysical realm.
So are you thinking maybe both can exist? There's neurological issues and emotional states that can cause somebody to feel like they've done an astral projection. And then there's those with gifts who actually do an astral projection.
I
Do you
would
think
agree.
both can exist?
Yeah, I absolutely think that. And
Perhaps.
I think maybe that's why there's also not enough information out there on astro projection as far as scientific wise too.
Whenever there's debate on anything, it always seems like people feel it has to be one or the other. It's black or white. There's
Yeah,
no
and
gray.
it's not.
There's no overlap in the middle, and maybe there is.
Right.
Who knows?
There's
That's why we're paranormal investigators.
exactly.
It's all about the paranormal not yet understood.
Yeah, there's lots of stuff out there that we just don't understand yet. And without a scientific explanation, do they truly exist? People aren't going to admit that they do. Unless I think people have more of the experiences themselves, then they become more of a believer. So I don't know. Answer me this, Kathy. Have you ever had a dream about you flying? Like just your body flying?
Yeah,
I have.
I probably have, yeah.
Yes. And you feel that.
Sounds like a common thing.
Yeah. You feel that sensation. Is that medically common?
Yes, that's part of
Why?
that proprioception. So if that part of your brain is firing in a way during a dream, it can make you feel like you're floating.
Okay. So I've had several of those, I will tell you. And that sensation was totally different from the time that I astro projected. Different feelings. And I really do feel like maybe in the flying state, because even Alexander talked about that a little bit, even in his book. Remember we discussed that?
Near-death experience, yeah.
Yes. So I'm wondering sometimes if our soul travels and visits different places from time to time and has and experiences that flying sensation. But again, no proof for it. But
Right. And then I have, this one's a little bit longer.
I'm ready to hear it.
Make
Let's
sure
see
this
if there's
is the
any
right one.
comparison.
There's others in here that people are talking about alien visits, and it's clear that they're just mocking these people.
No, that's not nice. We are going to have an alien
So this
episode
one,
sometime.
So
You're
this
gonna
one,
say-
again, it's an old one. Growing up, not often, but very occasionally, I would have nightmares. In all of them, I would either be alone or the only people would be far away on the horizon. The dreams often had a very quiet, sinister nature and a feeling of being stuck. Examples would be being inside of a dark house that started to catch on fire or being slowly pulled into the ocean as a giant wave approached. I always found dreams fascinating, and in my early 20s, I researched lucid dreams and became good at achieving them. After becoming familiar with my lucid dreams, I could control them well and remove anything negative that I didn't like. One night, I decided not to escape the darkness, but rather to move into it. Bad choice, right?
Okay.
I dreamed I was in my childhood town. In this dream, the town was deserted and run down. Boarded up windows, trash, and autumn leaves blowing across the streets. I was looking for something and wanted to leave, but couldn't find whatever it was. I saw my childhood home, and at this point, I just had a feeling it wasn't right and decided this was a dream. I didn't need any reality check or get excited because I was familiar with lucid dreams by now, and simply breathed a sigh of relief. I prepared to leave the scene, but I looked back on my childhood home. It was dark, something was not right, and I could feel the eerie, sinister silence I'd felt in nightmares long past. I decided that it may be a good idea to purposefully pursue this fear. It might be a new area of my mind to explore and gain greater control over. I ventured inside, and it was dark. Somehow, no light was able to enter from the outside. It was as if the light was sucked out of the air itself. The eerie silence intensified. Somehow it was deafening. Certain corners of the house were so dark they were completely obscured in black shadows. I moved closer to one of these corners. I could start to see something. Something was different. I felt afraid, the same feeling that would make my eyes water, throat tighten, and hair stand on end, and that washed over me. However, I was also excited, exhilarated. I knew this was a dream, and I had no doubt it was fantasy. As I approached this corner, the form of what was there finally came into view. It was a whole board straight down through the floorboards, perhaps a meter wide. I could see nothing in it, not the basement, not some pathway, just an abyss of blackness. Standing on the edge, I felt a sense of something, almost as if a low hum was traveling through my body. Not quite a voice or a growl, but more like a vibration. I don't know why, but it felt directed at me, and it felt like anger. I thought, removing all fear from myself, the subconsciousness is a wild thing. I'd let it do its worst. I would let this dream take control as much as it wanted to, and I would not be intimidated. Eyes open, I leaned forward and tumbled in blackness. Moments later, I find myself standing on a grimy floor of tiled stone or concrete. The walls were the same way, and the darkness pervaded this space as well. This was a small room, and with no doors or windows, it was more like a small stone cube. It was immediately evident that I was not alone. Crouching, facing away from me in tattered clothing was a lanky, shriveled girl? ? The thing turned towards me. It stood hunched over, and it had shriveled skin, long greasy black hair, a gaping unnatural mouth, and a sharp claw-like fingers about 4 times longer than they should be. It approached. I felt disgusted, if not afraid, and did not like being here. Still, I was adamant. I wanted this dream to do its worst, and I wanted to prove that I couldn't be controlled or unnerved in my own mind. The thing tore into me. It clawed at my abdomen. I felt no pain. I watched. From the moment it even touched me, I knew that I was the one truly in control, merely allowing it to continue. I reached my hand out and in one motion clawed at its face so severely that the disgusting face slopped off in my hand. Then I pushed the staggering monster away. In a way, I felt like I was telling my subconscious, yeah, big whoop, I can be spooky too. Don't even bother. The dream faded to black. From the darkness, I woke up. Smirking, I knew I had mastered another part of my own mind. I ventured into the darkest corner I could find and successfully trivialized the whole experience. Since then, I've never had another nightmare of that kind. I will still occasionally have bad dreams when non-lucid, but these generally revolve around more realistic scenarios like having a car breakdown or getting in arguments. I think conquering your fears in lucid dreams, whatever those fears are, can really be powerful. For the bold, I challenge other lucid dreamers to let their bad dreams take hold and then trivialize them. Jump into the monster's mouth and put silly stickers on its teeth. You are the one in control. Thanks for reading.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I think it was his fear that he was talking about.
Sure. And
He was
this
trying
is
to
more
find
lucid
it.
dreaming and practice in your lucid dreaming.
Yes. It just makes me think about that fear portion.
Right.
That a
and
lot of
facing
times
fears.
when people have dreams, they can't always control that fear. Right. And so I did do some digging in and I asked the question, why can't some people control things when they are lucid dreaming? Some people can't control events happening in their dreams because they have different varying levels of lucidity. They might lack focus, or they're held back by their fears, self-doubt, or some sort of subconscious belief that they are not in control.
Right.
So I believe that his whole point of doing this was to train his mind how to overcome his darkest fears. You heard how he said darkest corners. At first I was thinking maybe he entered a dark realm.
Right. Well, that's the thing. He transitioned through that hole in the floor, and this could all have been part of his imagination made. But he was lucid enough to see it through, which is interesting. He had control.
Yes.
This could be metaphysical or not, but lucid dreaming is a thing for sure.
Is it
Whether
scientific?
he visited another plane, maybe not. This could be one of those actual experiences in a dream state where you're in between your wake and your light sleep. So,
We are definitely going to have to do an episode on lucid dreaming.
Yeah.
Because I feel like out of all the dream topics that are out there regarding metaphysical, I think lucid dreaming actually has the most scientific backup.
Right.
So-
So what's happening in there, and are those thoughts your thoughts? And I think they are,
I do as well.
but if you look at it from a paranormal perspective, I could see somebody being very vulnerable in those states, which is why sleep paralysis occurs and that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
And the hallucination that your brain goes through versus people who've experienced it said, no, that was spirit. So
Well-
there's debate on that one as well.
Yeah, and we already know that the brain, when you dream, we know that the brain will also bring fears and issues that you haven't,
Addressed.
confronted. It's going to bring them to the surface saying, hey, you still have this to deal with. Don't forget.
Right. And part of that REM stage of sleep is processing your subconscious and your conscious. So some things you weren't aware of pop up in those dreams, but they've been living in your subconscious and you're sorting them in your dream that night.
Right. I would love to do an episode on,
Ooh, dream interpretation. Maybe people should write in and let us know these crazy dreams that they've had.
and then I'll interpret them. I do dream interpretation
Right.
as one of my gifts.
I've spent some time doing that. I used to have some strange dreams and I used to look them up to see what kind of meaning it was, like what was going on in my head. Not from a metaphysical point of view, but more of a psychological point of view in interpreting the dream. So yeah, let's try that.
I've done
Send
both.
us your dreams.
Yes, I've done both. And again, tornadoes represent bad things coming for me. There's different symbols that your mind is going to connect and relate to. But I do believe that we're also given warnings as far as a metaphysical level.
Right. So a little of both.
Exactly. So yeah, if you guys would like
be fun to dive into. Let us know if you think that would be good for an episode.
Absolutely.
And if you've experienced your own astral projection or a lucid dream, if you've been practicing lucid dreaming and controlling what goes on in your dream, if you visit the morbid episodes on this topic, they have a request to ask somebody in your dream, what's the date and time? And they swear everybody freaks out when that happens.
I've heard that. You won't be able to be given the date or the time.
Right.
And you know what I think? I often wonder if that's because time is a man-made thing.
It confuses everybody.
Exactly.
It just doesn't exist there. So I wonder if that's why you don't get a straight answer. So give it a shot if you're good at lucid dreaming. And write into us and tell us your experience.
Exactly. We would love to hear from you. We'll do a whole episode on it if we can get enough of the
we'd love to know what you think.
Emails. Right.
You can share your own parastories, topic suggestions, and comments to psychic and skeptic all spelled out at gmail.com. So you can find us wherever you enjoy your podcasts, and thank you for listening.
Because the paranormal is the normal.
Not yet understood.